In 1998, Swissair was considered the absolute pinnacle of aviation safety. Their aircraft were immaculately maintained, and their operations were so highly disciplined, they earned a unique nickname, the Flying Bank. On the evening of September 2nd, Swissair Flight 111 prepared to depart from JFK Airport. The Geneva-bound manifest read like a vault. Alongside 229 passengers, including UN officials and renowned scientists, the cargo hold carried roughly 50 kilograms of cash, a kilogram of diamonds, and an original Pablo Picasso painting. To match this elite clientele, the aircraft featured a brand new upgrade. The first and business class cabins were equipped with an in-flight entertainment network, or IFEN. Passengers could now browse the web, choose movies, and gamble at 33,000 feet. But embedding that complex web of wires into the ceiling of an existing airframe introduced a fatal, invisible vulnerability into what was widely considered the world's safest aircraft. Roughly 53 minutes after takeoff, the quiet luxury of the cabin dissolved. Flight 111 inverted and plunged violently into the dark Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Nova Scotia at near supersonic speed. The impact shattered the massive MD-11 into millions of pieces. No one survived. When investigators eventually retrieved the flight data and cockpit voice recorders from the ocean floor, they encountered an immediate anomaly. Both of the black boxes had abruptly lost power and stopped recording exactly 6 minutes before the plane hit the water. Filling in those missing 6 minutes required a massive naval and aerial recovery operation. Fleets of ships and submarines equipped with synthetic aperture sonar meticulously scoured the freezing depths of St. Margaret's Bay. Over the next several months, the recovery crews pulled roughly 2 million warped pieces of metal and plastic from the water. In an enormous hangar, forensic teams meticulously attached those specific fragments onto a 9-meter frame, slowly reconstructing the forward section of the aircraft. Rebuilding that puzzle eliminated the possibility of human error. The evidence pointed directly to a terrifying blind spot in global aviation engineering. The disaster originated with a single damaged wire belonging to that new in-flight entertainment system, hidden out of sight in the ceiling above the cockpit. To understand this, look at how circuit breakers work. Normally, if current surges, a mechanical breaker physically snaps open. But in an arc fault, current jumps across a tiny tear without spiking the total volume. The breakers remain blind, leaving the intense spark burning freely. And then it ran into a secondary wiring flaw. The IFEN system was improperly routed. It was tied directly to a power bus that bypassed the emergency cabin power kill switch. When the pilots eventually smelled smoke and initiated the emergency power down procedure, they successfully shut off the main cabin electricity. But because of that bypass, a steady flow of voltage kept feeding the fire. That persistent spark was surrounded by thermal insulation blankets made of a material called MPET. At the time, MPET was globally certified by aviation authorities as a highly fire-safe material. The fatal flaw was laboratory certification. MPET was tested as a single flat sheet exposed to a flame where it passed. But in aircraft ceilings, it's rolled tightly. In this claustrophobic proximity, radiant heat reflects between curved surfaces, rapidly accelerating the fire. In the cockpit, Captain Urs Zimmermann and First Officer Stefan Lowe smelled the smoke. Relying on their military training, they calmly donned their oxygen masks and began working through the complex standard emergency checklists. The plane was too heavy to land safely at nearby Halifax without shattering the landing gear. Following standard procedure, they turned the aircraft south toward the ocean to shed altitude and dump 230 tons of highly flammable jet fuel. But the fire raging just inches above their heads was silently melting through essential avionics and hydraulic lines. The mechanical connection between the pilot's yokes and the wings of the aircraft was physically dissolving. The pilots executed the safety protocols flawlessly, but those protocols required time they didn't have against a fire the manuals never anticipated. After a 4.5-year investigation, authorities completely cleared the pilots of any wrongdoing. The fire spread with such ferocity that a safe landing was mathematically impossible from the moment the smoke became visible. The findings triggered an immediate industry reckoning. The FAA and Transport Canada ordered the total removal of MPET insulation blankets from over 1,900 commercial aircraft worldwide. The engineering rules were permanently rewritten. Arc fault circuit interrupters became mandatory, and critical flight manuals were revised. If smoke is detected in a modern cockpit, the priority is no longer troubleshooting. The rule is now to land immediately. Today, a granite memorial stands on the rocky coast of Nova Scotia, directly facing the crash site. It marks the permanent scar left on the local community and the families of the 229 people lost. Flight 111 remains a harsh engineering warning. Installing a non-essential luxury system and relying on flawed safety testing can silently compromise the structural integrity of the safest machines we build.